The Inner Awakening Project.
Welcome to The Explainer. I am just absolutely thrilled you're here today because we're embarking on a seriously incredible journey of human discovery. We're going to trace an evolution of thought that started thousands of years ago. It's a journey that moved humanity from this outward, really desperate struggle for physical survival all the way to a profound inward search for enlightenment. It's literally the story of how we learn to understand our universe and, well, ultimately ourselves. So right off the bat, I want you to just keep this question in the back of your mind as we go through today's explainer. What if the greatest mystery was not outside the self, but within it? Pretty profound thought, right? But, humanity didn't just wake up one day and ask this. It took centuries of observing the stars, battling the elements, and asking increasingly complex questions for our ancient ancestors to finally arrive at this breathtaking destination. So let's dive in and see exactly how they got there. Our story really kicks off roughly between 1500 and 1200 BCE. The great sprawling cities of the Indus Valley had slowly faded into dust. But as they disappeared, this fascinating new chapter emerged. And what's so wild about this, what's really incredible, is that this chapter wasn't recorded in grand monuments or carved into stone. Nope, it was preserved entirely through memory and sound. Across the northern regions of the Indian subcontinent, early Vedic people carried their sacred knowledge through the incredibly precise vibration of language. We're talking about a system where every single syllable, every tiny pause, held absolute power. Over centuries, these super precise oral traditions expanded into 4 massive collections that we know as the Vedas. First up, we've got the Rig Veda, which is this huge collection containing over 1,000 ancient Sanskrit hymns. Honestly, it's an absolute marvel of human memory. Then there's the Samaveda, which really emphasized melodies and chants. The Yajurveda was basically your go-to guide for performing complex rituals. And finally, the Atharva Veda, filled with prayers, healing practices, and, reflections on everyday life. But to really grasp these texts, we kind of have to understand the people who composed them. They lived in a world where nature was unpredictable, terrifying, and deeply, deeply sacred. Just surviving meant maintaining harmony with the invisible forces that basically governed existence. You see, to early humans, divinity wasn't some distant, abstract concept. It was right there in the wind, the thunder, the dawn. Think about Agni, the god of fire. Absolutely crucial because his flames literally carried human offerings straight up to heaven. Then you have Indra, the lord of storms, who was praised for defeating chaos and bringing that much-needed, life-saving rain. Varuna governed truth and cosmic order, while Surya was the very life-giving force of the sun. So early humans negotiated with these terrifying cosmic forces through elaborate rituals called yajnas, where priests chanted to basically preserve the delicate balance between humanity and the cosmos. Section 1. The Great Origin Mystery. Who composed the Vedas? Okay, so we know what these ancient people believed, and we know the rituals they performed. But when it comes to the mystery of who exactly composed these texts, well, there are 2 main historical perspectives that are still intensely debated today. On one side, we've got the Indo-Aryan migration theory. Linguists point out these deep, undeniable similarities between ancient Sanskrit and Indo-European languages, which suggests that groups migrated from Central Asia into the subcontinent, eventually blending with the local cultures. On the flip side, we have the indigenous subcontinent emergence theory. Here, a lot of archaeologists point to evidence of continuity, suggesting that these traditions actually grew organically from earlier civilizations already rooted right there in India. Now, for this explainer, we aren't here to pick a side, because honestly, what often gets lost in all these fiery debates is a beautiful, deeper truth. Civilizations rarely spring from just one single source. Human history is really the story of merging worlds, cultural fusion, and constantly evolving identities. Let's look at how this builds over time, because a massive shift happens. From 1500 to 1200 BCE, you've got the booming external rituals of the villages, the fires, the chants, the sacrifices. But then, fast forward to between 800 and 300 BCE, and spiritual thinkers start leaving their settlements behind. They retreat into the quiet of the forests. Those booming, loud rituals completely give way to silent internal contemplation. And the radical new ideas born in that silence would be preserved in texts known as the Upanishads. So you might be wondering, why on earth did they go to the forests? Well, because humanity's questions had fundamentally changed. Sure, rituals could ask the gods for rain or a victory in battle, but they couldn't answer the big questions. The thinkers sitting out in the forests started asking things like, why do humans suffer? What actually survives death? Is life just a random string of events, or is there some ultimate reality beneath what we can physically see? Section 2. The Architecture of Existence. The inward philosophical turn. This brings us to a monumental shift in human history, where that external fire of survival transforms entirely into an internal search for the truth of existence itself. Out of these forest reflections emerge some truly brilliant, revolutionary concepts. First up is karma, an invisible moral law proposing that every single action carries a consequence. Now, even today, thousands of years later, we casually drop the word karma in our daily lives to make sense of the world, right? But to these ancient thinkers, this was a groundbreaking realization. Suddenly, human suffering wasn't just random bad luck. It wasn't the whim of an angry storm god. It was part of this massive interconnected web of cause and effect. Building on that, they developed the concept of samsara. These ancient thinkers concluded that death was not a final stop, not at all. Instead, existence is like an endless cosmic wheel, a cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, where souls just continuously return to life, completely shaped by their previous actions, shaped, of course, by their karma. Which brings us to a crucial point: moksha. I mean, think about it. If you're trapped on this endless wheel of rebirth and suffering, you're going to need a way out, right? Moksha is that ultimate escape hatch. It is the profound spiritual destination of liberation. This concept was huge because it finally gave human existence a definitive, transcendent goal. But to navigate this vast system of cause and effect, you kind of need a moral compass. And that compass is Dharma. It's the principle of cosmic order and righteous living. Basically, it's what told a king how to rule justly, or a student how to learn with humility. It acts as an essential guide for individuals to fulfill their moral and spiritual duties while moving through the ups and downs of life. Now, the true climax of this philosophical journey led to two incredibly profound realities. On one side, you have Brahman, the infinite, universal reality underlying absolutely everything in existence. And on the other side, you have Atman, the intimate, hidden, inner self or individual soul. So you've got the vast, boundless universe on one hand and the tiny, individual soul on the other. And then they made a connection that is, frankly, awe-inspiring. They realized that perhaps Atman and Brahman are not separate at all. Tat Twam Asi, you are that. It is a staggeringly revolutionary conclusion. It suggests that beneath all our status, our identities, all our illusions, and our suffering, every single being carries a fragment of the exact same cosmic unity. The universe isn't just around you, it is you. Section 3. The Evolution of Devotion, when philosophy becomes personal. Now, as incredible as that grand philosophical unity is, human beings are at our core emotional creatures. We crave connection. And so new, highly personal deities rose to embody these incredibly complex philosophies. We get Shiva, the meditating ascetic god of destruction, meditation, and transformation. There's Vishnu, the protector of cosmic balance, who actively descends into the world through avatars. And Devi, the divine feminine power, embodying the cosmic energy of creation and nurturing itself. These weren't just your standard storm and fire gods anymore. They were philosophically rich, multidimensional figures that would go on to shape the Hindu imagination for millennia. And honestly, what is perhaps most beautiful about this entire era is its tradition of coexistence. Hinduism remained utterly unique. I mean, it had no singular founder, no rigid, one-size-fits-all universal commandment. One village could be worshipping Shiva, while the very next village worshipped Vishnu. You could sit in a forest and meditate silently on the infinite universe, or you could be joyfully chanting in a crowded temple. Contradictions didn't destroy the system, they were actually embraced by it. All of these incredibly different paths to understanding survived and thrived right alongside each other. So, we've seen how humanity moved from physical survival to profound philosophy, and then to deeply personal devotion. But as Hindu thought continued to evolve, another massive transformation was just on the horizon, one that would completely reshape kingship, war, and duty itself. Which leaves us with one final, incredibly provocative thought. How does all this abstract philosophy become a story? Because eventually, these ancient discoveries would transform into massive, epic tales, stories so powerful that they entered the hearts of ordinary people and actually continue to shape millions of lives today. But hey, that is a story for another explainer. Thank you so much for joining me to explore the beautiful origins of Vedic thought.